woman of England. My parents came here and they worked. My mother came first. She sent for my father. My father came, he worked. How dare they? They tried it before, have you forgotten? They tried it before, they tried to pay people off to go home. Some people took it because they couldn't take it anymore. My father was one of them, yes? As we get more mature, which is what I am getting, I'm getting more mature, and as I become more mature, I am likely, as has happened, as you can see, to become differently able. Not disabled, because I don't want anyone to diss me. I am differently able. Now, we've worked. My mother, my father, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousins, they worked and paid their dues. We have the right to be here. As a differently able person, there are so many people out here that have nowhere to go when they go back to Jamaica or wherever it is they want to ship us out to. They don't know anyone. Who are they going to go to? Where is their land stolen? We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We stand and we fight. We shall not be divided. We matter. We have a right to be here. When we came, we did not come not to work. My mother said to me, you don't go to Blue Star House, because it was shameful. Because at the end of the day, we came to work. We never took handouts. I am not a lazy person, but I'm in a position where I have to depend on the state. I worked for my money. You work for your money. All of you work for this money. You all worked together. Now, when we were invited, we were invited. We did not come here. We didn't come here uninvited. We were welcome, and we want to work. We want to live in peace and live our little years, our lives, our few years that we have left. Let us live it happily, please. Thank you.
What's your name?
My name is Shani, aka Winsome Ennis.
Thank you, Shani. You're doing a lot of hard work helping people who've been entrapped by this government's policies. This is helper down here. What's your name, sister? Okay. Want to introduce yourself?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Cleo Lake, and I've come down from Bristol. I started a petition on the 1st of April, and we launched it in Bristol in consultation with African Connections Consortium and Greens of Colour. Unfortunately, it wasn't an April Fool's joke. And then Patrick Vernon got in touch, and I've supported with his petition. And I'm so happy that the government at least accepted that petition. Anyway, I'm here today to say that my father was a proud African man born in Jamaica. He settled in Bristol, that's where I'm born, but his nickname was BRIXTON. So I'm very happy to be standing here tonight. What I want to get across is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This must now be a rally call to push in for more change, not just Windrush justice, but justice and reparations. This is the time. We want our MPs and our High Commissioners to hold this government to account and usher in the kind of future that we need. Because the time is now. Another campaign that I'm working on is, and you can find the petition on change.org, is we demand a tax refund. Refund our taxes paid to compensate enslavers. It is crucial that we lobby on that, on the principle, on the disrespect that I, in 2015, was paying tax back to the people who enslaved my ancestors. I'm not having it. So let's work together, as the sisters have said. Let's build our own institutions. And all our allies here and everyone here, let's remember we don't stand here. Sorry for shouting. We don't stand here tonight as victims and allies of victims. We stand here as history makers, and that's how we will go forward.
Thank you. Thank you, sister. Give a round of applause. What's your name, sister?
Cleo Lake.
Cleo Lake. Thank you very much, sister. Now we have word from RMT, stalwarts of the anti-racist movement. Give us money, get the people out on the streets, they actually do what they say they're going to do. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Mick Broom. I'm an RMT officer. I'm also a train driver from the Victoria line, just down the road, so I'll probably take many of you to work or to wherever you're going. I'll give you some money later. Just like everybody else, I've got so much written down, but there's no point in me reading what I've written down because I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm going to speak from the heart. I work in Brixton. I love Brixton. My parents are West Indian, or were West Indian, they're both dead now. And when this scandal broke out, just like most of you here, it touched my heart. I couldn't see it at home today. I had to come out and say something. Just need to let you know what the RMT is doing as a union. We're reaching out to all our members. We've got motions flying left, right and centre at the moment for asking the RMT to give people that have been affected, members that have been affected by this scandal, financial help, counselling, whatever help we can give them, reaching out to them. But it's not only about the RMT. It's about every single person that enjoys mixing with different colours, different races, because I'll tell you what, I think life's good for me at the moment, but tomorrow it's going to be me. They're going to come for me. I'm not going to sit down and relax and think nothing's going to happen, okay? So what we've got to do, we just got to keep this going. They want us to forget about it. They want to start talking about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party to try and distract us from what is in front of us, right? We'll take on the anti-Semitism, but we'll also take on what is happening in front of our very eyes, right? We've got to take it on, and we cannot allow things to die down. We cannot allow them to wish that we weren't here, because we're here, and like I've heard before, we're here to stay. We ain't going anywhere. We're not going nowhere. That's right. Time is very limited. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I want you to know the RMT as a union are with all of you. We love you. We need you. Let's unify and stay together. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, brother. Let's tell people that there's going to be a protest at Parliament on the 30th of April, when I think it's next being debated in the mother of all parliaments, as they call it. And we're going to have to fight to get a full amnesty for everybody that's affected, and to get compensation for everybody that's affected, the people that have been kicked out of their houses, the people that have lost their jobs, and the people that are in detention. And we're now going to hear from someone who's in detention at Yarlswood. It's a crime against humanity, in my opinion, to imprison people for the so-called crime of crossing a border, either fleeing persecution or looking for a better life. It's actually human to migrate. We all came from Africa, remember? Fools! Not you. I'm talking about the media are the fools and the racists. Okay, Alex, would you like to introduce the person at Yarlswood?
Sure. My name's Alex. I'm from Movement for Justice, by any means necessary. And we have been building a movement of detainees inside and outside detention to bring down the detention and deportation buzz. Hundreds have insisted, even right on the plane. At the moment, I've got a woman in Yarlswood Detention Centre. Let me just read this. No, what happens when people speak out in detention, they get released. That's what happens. Speaking out works. Okay, her name is Yvonne Williams. She's 59, Jamaican grandmother who came here in 2001. She has 7 grandchildren here in UK. Her mum's lived here for over 56 years. And she's still here, all the family here, and she's been detained at Yarlswood Detention Centre for over a year, and they're now threatening to she's got 74-hour notice before she gets deported. But I'm going to try and get her to speak to you on the moment. Yvonne, do you want to speak now?
I think you're going to have to relay it.
I have to relay it.
You have to relay it because it doesn't never work. You say what you say.
Yeah, you hear it and say what she says.
Bear with me a second. Let me get.
You also need to get a decent phone.
Sorry. Yeah, I need a decent income. Yeah. Hold on a second.
Okay, whilst you're doing that, I'll keep it going. Whilst you're doing that, we'll get our next speaker up. Who's that? Oh, where is it? Oh, no, yeah. Is a barrister of note, I would say. Yeah, I would say. Get that out because it's feedbacking. Right, we'll get back to that. This tech stuff never works in these situations, in my experience. But anyway, Brian Richardson is a barrister at. I can't remember the firm. You can do that.
Can we have Jackie Day after? I can't wait.
Sisters and brothers, don't worry about me being a barrister. What I want you to know is two things. Firstly, I'm a local resident, and therefore I'm particularly pleased and proud to see so many of you here this evening. It's a beautiful evening. You could be doing so many other things, whether here in Brixton, in the various bars and so on, or wherever you've come from. But you have come here because you see the importance of this protest, and it is particularly significant that we are here in a place called Windrush Square, in what is widely regarded as being the capital of Black Britain, because this is the place, isn't it, where people first came. They settled in Clapham, they came down to the job centre here in Brixton, and then they settled here in Brixton. I don't know how many of you know, but it is exactly a year since we laid to rest one of the most important sons of this soil, the devil's advocate himself, dark as hell. And before his funeral service in Notting Hill, his funeral party drove through the streets of Brixton so that we could say farewell to that great and doughty fighter. I don't know. Well, I do know what Darkus would think about the scandal that has erupted over the last few weeks, but obviously he's not here to speak for himself. But I'll tell you who I did speak to last weekend. I spoke to my mum and dad, who are part of that generation who came here in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and they worked their socks off to build this country. And they felt outraged and disgusted when they saw the reports in the newspapers about what's happened and about what's happening. And of course there's one other thing that we should remember, isn't there? So many of those people, the people who came and worked, the people who were told when they went to find accommodation, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, who had to sleep in the same bed that their housemates slept in when they went to do their shift, who were treated in such a hostile way. They never intended to stay here anyway, did they? So many of them planned to work here, to send money back to support their families, to buy a little plot of land so that they could build a house and go back to. But they couldn't do it, could they? So many of them couldn't do it. Why? Because they were given the worst paid, the most rotten, least prestigious jobs, housed in the worst areas, so that it made it more and more impossible for them to go back. And their children, when they went to school, what happened to them? Treated as educationally subnormal and dumped in the sink schools. That was the experience of people in the 50s and the 60s. I grew up in the 1970s, and actually things were a bit different to us. Gary let slip that I'm a barrister now. The reason I could get a decent grade at school, could go to university, could get a half-decent job, was precisely because of the battles that we fought in the 70s and the 80s, the demands for recognition, the struggles and so on. Someone spoke earlier about why it was they built Brixton Recreation Centre. They didn't build it because they cared about people. They built it because people stood up and fought back, and suddenly they turned around and thought, oh, we better do something, we better build that recreation centre. It's only when we unite and